Today's proverb is Proverbs 29:18. Andy?
Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keeps the law, happy is he. Again, I'm going to read this again. And it said, where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keeps the law, happy is he. So
This is the King James Version.
This is the King James Version. Normally we're reading the NIV or the ESV, but as we look at the different translations, I really think the King James has the clearest version of what the original author is trying to say here. Not that the other ones don't mean the same thing. It just sometimes the language just makes more sense when you read it this way. But to kind of explain this, I'm going to give a little bit of context. So it uses this word vision.
Yeah.
And in this time when they're talking about vision, it referred to divine revelation, prophecy, or a guiding vision from God. And that was often delivered through prophets, is who that would come through. Then they use this word perish. In other translations like the NIV, they say cast off. And what they're suggesting is that it's a lack of direction, leading to chaos, disorder, or moral decline.
Yeah.
And so what we see is happening here really is to kind of re-say it. It's without divine guidance or a clear sense of purpose, people lose direction, leading to moral decay, which is really what we've seen in the decline of the church since, we'll talk about this in the main show, but here in America from about 1950s on, this has kind of been the moral decay, is we kind of lost vision of where the church is supposed to be. And so those that keep the law, those who obey God's teaching find happiness. And I know very often when you talk about the law with people, or you talk about the rules of Christianity, that's kind of the turnoff to people.
Sure.
But the goal of this isn't that I'm not trying to create
legalisms
at all. And I think that's the danger that you can fall into, is that, oh, you have to do it this way, because if it's not in the Bible, it's not. We don't make it a law.
Yeah.
But the problem is that we have lost the ability to read and understand God's word and then apply it to our lives, because we don't want to be ruled by anybody. But God sets up these boundaries for our lives, not because he wants to be some dictator, some fascist. It's him looking at us going, hey, your life will turn out the best way if you do it this way. I want you to have peace, and I want you to have happiness. And if you just listen to me, I mean, how often do we do that with our own kids when we're course correcting our kids? It's not because I'm trying to come in and hammer them. It's I'm coming to them going, hey, I've been down these roads. I can see further than what you can see, and I want to prevent you from going through these hardships. And so if you just listen to me and do it this way, you follow the rules, life will go better with you. Not perfect, but life will go better with you.
Yeah.
And so there are some practical steps for this application I think that people can take away. Number one, seek guidance. Like if you don't have a clear vision for your life of where you want to be, seek guidance. Find a mentor. We're talking about mentorship again. Yeah. Find a good spiritual leader, or maybe even a good business leader for your business, but you just want to be able to gain perspective and be able to honestly say, maybe I can't see 10 steps ahead that you can see. And so I need to have a clear-cut vision. Number two, you need to identify what your core values are. Like, who am I as a person? Who am I, more importantly, as a follower of Christ? And how do I want to interject that in my life? If you are a leader, this is really important. Articulate clearly your vision so you can bring unity to people. You don't want to you have really a choice with leadership. You can rule with an iron hammer, you can be a servant leader. And I can tell you, if you're a servant leader, you can get a lot farther with your people. And then be willing to sacrifice your desires. If someone you've entrusted or your mentor seems to be steering you maybe in a different direction than where you want to go, maybe you need to be willing to push back a little bit on that.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to read it again, Proverbs 29:18. Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, he is happy. Mm-hmm. He said that thing about happiness and rules. And yes, it seems, I've used this example a bunch of times because I've heard it so many times, which is, I'll be talking about my relationship with God with somebody, and they'll go, yeah, if I like to go have a couple of cocktails on a Friday night. And I go, yeah, cool. Maybe, yeah, but if you're in the church and stuff, you can't drink.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it doesn't say that. And it frequently shows somebody's disassociation with what the Bible actually says, mm-hmm. what they think it says versus what it actually says. And when God's saying he is happy, what he's showing throughout the entire Bible, if you read it, is a bunch of people that follow God and then don't follow God and then start following God again. Mm-hmm. And it shows the trials and tribulations of not following God. And then it shows fulfillment and happiness when you do. So like this is just like a little snapshot of what the Bible's actually offering is wisdom that will make you happy.
Yeah.
So you'll start what happens to you as you go through this relationship with God is he starts changing your heart. And he starts changing the things you see as valuable. And when he does that, it's received as there's these rules, but actually they're freedoms. And by setting these boundaries now for yourself that you've maybe never had before, somebody might call those rules, but actually it's a better way. And you'll find yourself happier at the end of it frequently. And it's not a rule thing. Again, if you want to go on a Friday and have a cocktail, you certainly can. But I know that in my life, alcohol led to slavery. So for me, I couldn't do that. Now, God's given me a path where I don't even have to. And I still find lots of joy and happiness in my life because as I walk through his vision of my life and I try to follow him, doors are open that I never would have anticipated. And relationships are fulfilled, relationships are restored. So it's like these new rules, as we're calling them, are actually just this guideline for how to live a better life. And they do make me happy at the end. You know, the verse reminds us that without God's vision, people lose direction and they actually lose self-control. That's what I did. When I drank all the time, I had no self-control. Yeah. I couldn't control anything about myself anymore. And then I started blaming it on things. And I blame it on you. I blame it on anybody else around me. And I could, because I didn't have self-control anymore. So I project out on other people, you know, their inadequacies or whatever. And then also, like, you look at it as the greater society, and a society without the revelation of God can drift into chaos, and then you'll develop these desires that are never satiated. So then you'll start chasing after all these things to try to fill yourself, whether it's drugs and alcohol, or whether it's a big job with a lot of money, or it's the perfect family, or it's pornography and sexual conquest. You know, these things you'll seek after to validate this thing that is lacking inside of you, and you're only going to be unsatiated. You're never going to be fulfilled by that. So it's really, you know, no vision is this, like, you know, James calls it a rudderless ship.
Right.
You know, it's this ship out in the middle of water that can't, no matter how much you're steering the wheel, it ain't going anywhere. And God's here saying, let me offer you a vision for your future that will make you happy.
It's so good.
And it's the completion of everything that you've desired, all these things that you feel like you're lacking, and you are. You know, Christ made this perfect shape for himself inside of you. And when you receive him in, it's not easy. There's still a lot of difficulties in life. You're still going to have trials. But when you have him, he comes in and he gives purpose to the pain. He gives purpose to the trials. And then he helps you to get through them too. And on the other side, you get victory and you get the joy of being like, I went through something hard. Yeah. And you feel more like fulfilled.
Yeah, you do.
You really feel like this life, what I'm doing makes sense. And then you want to go out and attack the next thing. You know, and it gives you a drive that you never had before.
Well, what you just said there, I think, is invaluable for people to hear. It's like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to attack the next thing, because there's always going to be a thing that I'm attacking at any point in time in my life. And
God says also in James, he says, in this life there will be many trials.
Yeah. So, but take heed, I've overcome the world.
Bingo.
Yeah. When I look at a verse like this, you know, we have to remember this about Proverbs. They're not promises, they're truisms.
Yeah.
Right. And so what Solomon is saying is, if you do it this way, you'll have the best chances of being happy doing it this way.
That's exactly right.
It's not that you're not going to come up against conflict or problems in your life. There's never the promises we just talked about there. It's that when that comes up, if I'm pointed at Jesus, if my purpose is I'm going to be a follower of Christ, I'm going to walk through this as a follower of Christ, I have the best chances of being happy as I go through it, or on the back side of it, I have the best chances of being happy. But otherwise, if we talked about this in our one of our recent podcasts, was if I just remove this thing, if it's always about behavior modification, I'm just going to remove the alcohol, I'm going to remove the drugs, and then I'll be happy. Maybe for a little while, but then I'm just continue to search for the next thing just to fill me in. Well, let's just try sex, or let's try porn, or let's just try a relationship. A relationship is something even healthy.
Yeah.
Or maybe my kids. Maybe if I just have kids, I'll be fulfilled.
Right.
And then there's just still this emptiness because you're just always searching after the next thing. And so having that vision of being a follower of Christ, so that when I'm walking in these conflicts or these struggles, there's a reason why I'm walking through that. And there's a reason why I'm trying to get out of it as well, because I'll find peace and happiness on the other side.
And as a final point, it's like, isn't this the culture we're in, where it's just very visionless? And the visions that we're given to look towards are all superficial.
Fake.
It's just this phony baloney highlight reel of somebody else's life that we're told is the apex of what life is supposed to be, on a boat somewhere with all the money and gold teeth or diamonds in your mouth or something weird.
And hot girls or half naked women around you.
And then it's like, you dig even a slight little bit into that person's story and all you see is the pain.
Brokenness.
Almost all the time. So maybe not every time, but like frequently that's what those stories are on the backside when they're chewed up by the machine and spit back out. And then they're just these broken people. And that's why you see such a high degree. I was just watching a documentary the other day about Chris Cornell from Soundgarden, and
Pour one out.
And what was the fella's name from Linkin Park? Chester Bennington. And these two guys had everything you'd think. They had families, they had kids.
Success.
All the success a musician could ever dream of. And by all accounts, it wasn't enough. And they still were broken at the end. And with all that fame and all that money and all that success, they still
Took their lives. Man, ain't that the story we see so often for people? They think if I just reach this pinnacle, then I'll find completeness. And it's all on, that's why the Bible says to build your foundation on a solid ground. Because if you build your foundation on sand, and when the storm comes in and washes away the foundation, your house will be broken and you'll have nothing left. And we see that so often in culture today, that culture is propped up, and that, if you just get to this level, then that's it. And then all those people get to that level and they go, that's still not enough. And I'd rather not live than to continue to live this lie any longer.
That's it. So friends, what are you building your foundation on? Are you building on the rock, the truth of eternity? Or are you building it on sand? Are you building it on these material things of this world that will be washed away when the next storm comes through? Comment, like, subscribe. Tell us what you think. We look forward to seeing you in the big episode. Take care.